Oh no, Kyle. It happened again.
What happened, Mike?
Shrinkage.
Oh no.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
This is Gayish.
We have to talk about Roe v. Wade, Kyle.
Yeah.
And I want to do a couple of things with this. First, I want to make space for the whole thing, but also I want to sort of explain to especially our international listeners what's actually happening and what happens next, because I think if my conversations have shown me anything, it's that there are lots and lots of people in this country, much less outside of it, who don't understand the civics and the process behind what's happening. So
you majored in civics and process, right? As your technical major.
I have a degree. I have a bachelor's degree in government, political science. So
yeah. And you have an honorary degree from like fucking Harvard in process.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Harvard, call me. Okay, so Roe versus Wade was the landmark decision handed down by the Supreme Court in the early 1970s that made it illegal to restrict access to abortion. That decision was just last week overturned. So what does that mean? There are a lot of people who have been concerned that it means that abortion is now illegal in the United States. That's not the case. It makes it so that each state gets to decide for themselves. And because we have a lot of shitbag, fuck-face, asshole states, abortion access is being restricted and even eliminated in some cases in a great many states. By some counts, 26 states are either already restricting abortion access or will be in the very near future.
This is one of those interesting times where I think a lot about, okay, we go through the process of there's a new federal law or ruling or whatever. Who goes back and then updates their thing to remove it or, okay, this is now illegal. Let me remove it. This is one of those weird cases where now it's like, oh, wait, what do the states have on the books about their own abortion law?
Yep.
That'll be interesting to see like what states currently have on the books, even if it was technically federally illegal to have it on there. Like, what do they still have on there? And are people going to do new things?
Yeah, in fact, there are a couple of states, hint, hint, they're in the Southeast, that have abortion laws on the books that are from the Reconstruction era. So like the late 1800s,
yeah.
Mid to late 1800s. And there are some questions about whether those laws now apply. Like, do they just magically start working in? So there is some... It's interesting to note that the Supreme Court is using the due process parts of the Constitution, used the due process parts of the Constitution to create a right to abortion that was not born out of legislation. They just said, we're interpreting the Constitution to include this personal right. There are a great many other personal rights that we're going to talk about that have also been enacted by similar means. And this is the first time one of them has been taken away. So this is the very first time that the Supreme Court of this country has granted a right to the people and then pulled it back in a later decision after almost 50 years of it being the case, which usually our Supreme Court depends on stare decisis, which is the principle that a decision should stay unless there's a dramatic reason to overturn it. There's no such dramatic reason here. They just pretty much decided because the state of Mississippi...
The dramatic reason is that now we have a lot of conservatives on the bench. And that's
It's absolutely true. The state of Mississippi passed a law intentionally unconstitutional under the Roe v. Wade precedent, specifically so that it could put in front of this court this issue so that they could strike it down. And Chief Justice Roberts said that he would only have allowed Mississippi's law rather than striking down Roe v. Wade completely. But he's outgunned by a radical right-wing court.
I wish we could go back to the hearings where people asked them questions about the potential justices, if what their view on Roe v. Wade was, and you want to, that's more just out of anger. Like, can we hold them in contempt for lying or something? It's, you have to be able to evolve an opinion. I don't want to set that precedent that what you say, you absolutely always have to do forever and always. So I don't know. I know it's not a good, but it's very frustrating that, they just fucking lied.
Yeah. I mean, they would have to be impeached, and perjury to Congress is certainly something that is potentially impeachable. So, but there's no, this is not the political climate in which anything reasonable is going to happen.
That could be the response to nearly any news story. This is not the political climate in which anything reasonable will happen. Yeah. God, Mike, that is this decade in a nutshell. Yeah, jeez, fuck. Yes, you are so right. You are so right.
So now what happens next? As I mentioned, the due process clause, the right to privacy, is the foundation for abortion rights that have just been stripped away. Similar decisions include Lawrence v. Texas, which is the early 2000s decision that said that what happens in the privacy of someone's bedroom is between it's sodomy. Yeah. Go ahead. You have a right to ass sex, everybody. That's what the court said in that. There's also the decision for contraception, that you have a right to contraception, that states cannot restrict access to contraception. And then Obergefell v. Hodges, the landmark decision that made gay marriage legal in all 50 states. Also, and I think this is really interesting, Loving versus Virginia, which is the decision that said that states cannot restrict interracial marriage. It was noticeably absent from Clarence Thomas's opinion when he enumerated a bunch of things that he thought we should revisit as a result of this decision, which is only important because he himself is in an interracial marriage that is built on the foundation of a similarly decided law.
So I did not realize all of these are built on the idea of due process and the right to privacy. I didn't know that all of these rights were based on that. It's not like you have an inexorable right to butt sex. It's that you have an inexorable right to not have anyone invade your privacy.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I had no idea.
And all of those things that I mentioned are also things that the court decided. It's not written in the Constitution. These are not things that were legislated. The court decided that substantive due process means you have a right to these things, sort of taking the language of the Constitution and building a space for them.
Interesting.
As a judiciary. So there's the idea that if they gave it to us, they can take it away, and they just did.
Yeah, that's so wild. Yeah, that Loving v. Virginia was not included. Like, I hate it unless it's me is like very. That's conservatives' whole shtick, but God, that fucking fuck you, dude. Like, bro. Yeah. I mean, I already think with his wife's involvement in January 6th, I'm already like, what you got going on ain't great.
Yep.
I'm not loving this.
For
stupid.
Sure.
Cut that, editor. That's me.
Yeah, edit that out. So just everybody, the queer people are freaking out in the United States. Queer people are freaking out outside the United States because the United States can sometimes be a leading indicator of other things across the world. I've had several Canadians reach out to me and say, like, hey, Canada kind of like tends to fuck up the same way that y'all did, just a little bit after you do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's actually true, though, because like Justin Trudeau spoke out really loudly against this decision on Twitter, and Canada's way better than us on lots and lots of queer issues,
including same-sex marriage. Like, Canada was before us on that. So, God,
conversion therapy. Yeah,
thank fucking God. The idea of people following the U.S. in their like policies is horrifying and disgusting. I'm really glad something that sometimes I learn things and take things away from my own show. When you talked about on a previous news story, LGBT people, especially cis gay men, be mad now. Don't. Yes, let's. I think it's important that people are pointing out that these are next. Everyone's rights, minorities' rights, are coming up to these justice votes or whatever soon. But also be mad now because this affects our community now. I think that was a really important thing that you brought up during one of these news segments, and then coming into this gave me that I was reminded of that, gave me that kind of, don't just worry about what's next because it's me, worry about our community now. And it's interesting that I don't know, tangentially connected. I just think about the lesbians that during the AIDS crisis were the ones that stepped up and helped supported gay men, whether it's in the hospital or I think I was just reading something about this recently, unrelatedly. And, the donated blood or, families disowned them. So they were the ones that took care of the gay men during the AIDS crisis. Like, it's not they did something, we do something. It's that our community needs to stick together and care about things that affect all of us. Who else is going to care about us if we don't start with ourselves? And so we need to worry about what is happening to people with uteruses in our community, because it does. Yep. And some of those issues are compounded if you both can get pregnant and are trans or non-binary. Like there's even more complexities. If you don't have a family that's helping you and caring for you, if you don't have income to be able to get access to healthcare that you need, these all compound the issues of abortion. And so, care now and care about what's coming next.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree, because you just said a bunch of things that I said last time. Okay.
So I said them now so I can take credit for them.
Yeah, shit's real fucked up right now, and I'm sorry, and we'll have to figure out what to do from here. But I'm sure we'll talk about this more. But it's a very scary time for us. So I'm definitely auditioning for International Husbands.
Ooh, I was doing that anyway. That was just a side project I had personally going on. Mm-hmm. So, my God, can we do an international game show podcast where we just meet potential husbands?
Yes. Is this a production meeting?
Yes. Okay. I declare it ordered. Where's my? Okay, Mike. Side note: should that be a shrinkage?
It could be. Yeah.
Well, that's all for this mini episode.
It was mini.
It was mini. It was an episode. And it was kind of gayish.
Yeah, so...
Remember to the 3 R's: rate, review, and prescribe.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
And be butch, be fabulous, stay out of the cold water.